What's happening, people? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be going through some more of my top Procreate tips for absolute beginners. Like I mentioned at the start of all these videos, please consider liking, commenting and subscribing. I'm fast approaching 500 subscribers, so every subscriber I get means the absolute world to us. Also, if you have any tips you want us to feature in these videos, make sure to get them in those comments down below and I'll feature them in the next video. That being said, let's get into it. Okay, for tip number one, I just want to have a quick chat about canvas size. So if you're anything like me, when you first start using Procreate, you're probably just going to be using the default screen size setting, which sets your canvas to the size of your iPad screen. But you do have other options when you're choosing a canvas size. So if you click on this plus, you've got numerous preset options, or you can actually type in the dimensions you want to use. Now that's something you want to think about going forward with Procreate, because for different reasons you might want different screen sizes. A quick example of that is you might want to use the A4 screen size if you're planning on printing it out on a normal A4 printer, and then you know it's going to be set at the right size for that. Other things to think about, for me, if I'm creating YouTube thumbnails on Procreate, the size that I'm going to want to use for that is 1280 by 720, because that's the size of a YouTube thumbnail. Other things you might be doing with digital art stuff for the internet, they're all going to have their own set size. So then you're going to want to set Procreate to that size so that your artwork fits perfectly when you completed it. Another thing to think about with canvas size is that if you're using a canvas that's very small, you'll find that when you start zooming in, your lines can go pixelated because it's such a small canvas. So if you are finding that, you might want to consider using a larger canvas. Then you'll find when you start zooming in, it's a lot less pixelated. So that's just a good thing to think about going forward with Procreate. Okay, for tip number two, I just want to have a quick chat about layers. So if you're working on a design, you already know that all your different layers are split into sections up here and you can move them around as you wish. But did you know if you choose to, you can actually remove that layer from this piece and start a new piece just with that layer. So you select the layer as you normally would if you wanted to move its position, but rather than dropping it to a different place on this artwork, I'm going to drag it out into the middle, click gallery, find a space, and I'm just going to drop it down here, and you'll see now that this layer has its own Procreate sort of canvas to itself, and I can start working on it in here. Similarly, if I wanted to add that layer to a piece that I'm already working on, I come up to my layers, select it, drag it out into the middle, I'll click gallery, I'll choose where I want it, so say I want to add it to this design that I'm working on. I can open up this design, I've still kept a hold of it at all times, and I drop it onto the screen, and you see now this layer is available in this gallery. So you can do that with anything you're working on. You can drag and drop it and move it between different canvases. Okay, so tip number three is about layers again, and it's a nice little one. Obviously, sometimes you'll be working on a design with a lot of layers, and you just want to see one layer by itself, and what you would have to do is obviously unclick all the different layers so that you can see what that layer looks like just on its own. But rather than doing that, a much simpler way is you decide the layer you want to see by yourself. So say I just want to have a look at this one. If you go to where the little ticky box is and hold it down, it'll show you just that layer by itself. And then if I want to bring it back to how it was, I just go back to my layers, hold it down again, and it brings all the layers back up. Okay, tip number four is a great little tip if you're anything like me and you're not very good at drawing things with perspective. So did you know that Procreate will allow you to set a vanishing point on your canvas so you always know where your vanishing points are? All you have to do is you come up to your wrench tool up here, you turn on the drawing guide, and you come down to edit drawing guide. Now you've got four options along the bottom here. It's already set to 2D grid. You've got isometric, perspective, and symmetry. You want to click perspective and you want to turn on assisted drawing. That'll allow you to choose multiple or single vanishing points on your canvas wherever you want. All you have to do is tap where you want your vanishing points to be. So say I'll put one up here, and you can see it's put all my horizontal lines down here, and then maybe I want another one down here, and now it's put like a grid on so I know where all my vanishing points are. I click done, I'll come up and choose my pencil. I'll just choose them online for this, choose an appropriate size pencil, and you can see if I follow these lines, they're all going to be going towards the vanishing point, so it helps you with your perspective drawing. And then you've got your ones coming this way. And just a good little tip for if you are drawing something that has to be done with perspective. Tip number five, do you ever find yourself shading a design with a textured brush and then decide that you've actually done it a bit too dark in one area and want to lighten it up? But when you choose your eraser tool, you find it's the complete wrong eraser for the texture that you've been using. Well, did you know that rather than going through the eraser tool and trying to find the brush that you've been using, if you click on your brush and you hold down the eraser, that'll automatically find the texture eraser that matches the brush that you've been using, and then you can go ahead and erase using the same texture as the brush. Tip number 6. Okay, so have you ever finished a design and you're happy with it, but you've noticed a few of the lines are just a little bit thicker than you would like them to be? Rather than erasing them and trying to redo them, which could obviously affect the rest of your design, there is a much easier way. If you come up to the magic wand tool and choose liquify, then you choose the pressure and the size that you would like. Obviously that's something you're going to have to play around with depending on the design that you're doing. Then all you have to do is go over the lines again, and you'll see they become smaller and smaller, and you can just keep on with it until you get them to a size you'd like them to be. So I'm happy with that, and then I would just do it again on the other side, and you just got to liquefy your lines until you get them to a size that you're happy with. You can see the lines just become smaller and smaller and smaller. Tip number 8. Did you know that you could actually select multiple layers at once? So normally to select a layer, you would swipe left on it and that would select the layer. And then you could choose to duplicate it or whatever you want to do. But did you know that you don't have to do it one at a time? You can actually select as many layers as you want at once. Also, if you wanted to duplicate all these layers rather than having to go through and click duplicate on all of them, if you just hold them, drag and drop them onto the screen, that'll duplicate the layers whilst leaving the original ones where they were. Tip number 9. Did you know that Procreate has a feature that allows you to organise your shapes and drawings within its canvas? All you have to do is come up to the arrow tool, come down to snapping, and turn on magnetic and snapping. And what that allows you to do is, rather than moving it in a free motion, it allows you to move your images and the sort of snap together. So you can go onto your different layers, do the same thing, and it allows you to move them and snap them all together. So then you can have them in a much more uniformed motion when you're moving them around. Tip number 7. For this tip, I'm going to show you how you can create your own stippling brush so you can create dot work shading just like this. Also, I do plan on making a video on brush creation, so if it's something you'd be interested in, make sure to let us know down in the comments, and also subscribe so you'll see that video when I make it. So for this, all we're going to do is come up to a brush tool, click monoline, which you'll find in the calligraphy library, and I'm going to duplicate it by swiping left and clicking duplicate. Click on the new brush we've just made, and to make the dot work brush, all you do is you turn your spacing right up. Obviously it's up to you to play about with how much you want, but I like quite a lot of space between mine, so I'm going to leave it around about 90%. And obviously you can see already it's starting to take shape. We've got the individual dots. Now you can mess around with the jitter if you choose to. That'll just make them more random rather than having them in a straight line, as you can see there. For this, I'll just keep them in a straight line, and fall off, I'm just going to keep on none as well. And then stabilization, just have that how you would have your other brushes. So if you want them really, if you want to turn up the stabilization so they'll stay much more in a straight line, that's up to you. Or if you're shading something a bit more random, then you might want to keep it turned off. I'll just keep it turned off for this. So if I click done, and I'll just start a new layer just so we can keep everything separate. I'll just work on this new layer, and if I was to use my original monoline brush just to create a little shape for us to shade, then I choose the new brush we've just created, which is my dot work brush. I'll choose a size that would work well, and you'll be able to see the effect straight away. So it just loads of individual dots, and it'll allow you to build them up where you want it darker. And then as you get further down, you might want to space them more out so you could have it lighter. And you can sort of see it taking place. Now, like I say, I'm going to make a video on how you can make all kinds of different brushes, so make sure you subscribe if that's something you'd be interested in seeing. Tip number 10. Okay, for the final tip of this video, I'm going to show you how you can get a nice crisp white outline around any of your designs. This is perfect if you want to turn any of them into stickers or anything like that. So what I'm going to do, firstly, I'm going to come up to my layers, I'm going to swipe left on my layer so that I can duplicate it. Then I'm going to work on my top layer, I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to choose to click select. What that's going to do, it's going to fill it with whatever colour I have chosen. Obviously, I want a white outline, so I've already got my colour as white. I'm going to click select, and that's going to fill me shape. Next, I want to come up to the Magic Wand tool and choose Gaussian Blur. I'm going to set that to around 12%, but obviously depending on what you're working on, you might want to play around with your percentages. Next, I'm going to come up with the Selection tool, make sure it's on automatic, and I'm going to tap the area outside of my design. Straight away you can see I've got an outline there, but I want to go on Invert because I want my outline to be white. Now all I have to do is come up to my layers again, select my top layer and move it underneath my original design, and you'll see I have a nice crisp white outline around my image. That's it for this video, people. If you managed to stick around this far, I'd really appreciate a like, comment and subscribe. Like I said at the start, I'm approaching 500 subscribers, so every subscriber I get means the world to us. Also, like I mentioned, if you have any tips that you think I should feature in the next video, get them in the comments down below and I'll certainly put them in. That being said, thanks for watching and I'll catch you all in the next one. Cheers.